Hi guys. Well, you made it. You made it through all of the new material. So now we're down to one more benchmark. Speaking of benchmarks, if you didn't pass benchmark number 3, make sure that you get a hold of me so that we can do a retake. Definitely want that not to hurt your grade. Okay. So today we're doing the pre-benchmark quiz together. Do it with me. You can try these problems by yourself if you want to, and then check your answers by working with me. That's also possible. But please, please, please make sure that you are that you do check your work, because I'm telling you, if you do this video with me, it's only 3 problems. It's really going to help tomorrow when you take the actual benchmarks. So it's easier to put in the time now than to have to do it twice, because that is a lot more time, ultimately. Okay, so we learned how to do 3 different methods this chapter. One, to find a point where 2 lines cross. One is graphing, one is elimination, and one is substitution. So elimination is the one we did most recently, so I thought we'd start there. So we're going to start on number 1. Okay. So I'm trying to add these together and get them to cancel out. So I'm either going to cancel out the x's or the y's. So I guess you could try to cancel out the y's by making them both 20 and negative 20, because 4 and 5 both go into 20, but I think it's easier to try to make them both into a positive and negative 6. So since this one's already a positive 6, I'm going to multiply this top equation by negative 2 so that I get it to be a negative 6. So I'm going to distribute to all of those. So that's negative 6x plus a negative 8y equals negative 58, because I distributed to every single one. And then I'm just going to rewrite the other equation beneath it, because I didn't change it at all. That 8's going to drive me crazy. Okay. So then if you add them together, you get negative 8 plus 5 makes negative 3y, and negative 58 plus 43 is negative 15. And by the way, if you're still having problems with adding and subtracting positives and negatives, use a calculator. Don't just guess. You don't want to not pass this benchmark because you just didn't add correctly. That'd be silly. So then you're multiplying by a negative 3, so then we're going to divide by a negative 3 on both sides. You end up with y equals 5. So now I've got y equals 5. But I still need to get x, so I've got to go back to one of these 2 equations and plug in y for 5. So let's try the top one. So I'm going to write, it was 3x plus 4y equals 29. So if I plug in 5 for y, that's 3x plus 4 times 5 equals 29, which is 3x plus 20 equals 29. And then I'm going to subtract 20 from both sides, so I get 3x equals 9. And then divide by 3 on both sides, and I get x equals 3. And then remember, your answer isn't complete. I will mark you wrong if you don't write your answer as a point, because the idea behind this is that we're trying to find out where 2 lines cross, and they cross at a point, so make sure you rewrite it as a point. All right, that's elimination. Let's move on to substitution. So for substitution, you first need to solve for one of the variables, which is already done for us. Here it says y equals this junk right here. So we're going to plug that junk in for y right there. So I'm going to write 3x plus, but then instead of writing y, I'm going to write that junk. So I'm going to write negative 4x plus 11 equals 9. Okay, and then now that I've got an equation that I can solve, I'm going to combine the x's. And I don't have to add or subtract anything because they're on the same side, so I can just put them together. I've got positive 3 and negative 4 makes negative 1x, plus 11 equals 9. And then to get rid of 11, I subtract 11 on both sides. I've got negative 1x equals negative 2. And then divide by negative 1 on both sides, I get x equals positive 2. All right, now that I've got x equals positive 2, I'm going to plug that number into one of these two equations. I'm going to pick the top one. You don't have to pick the top one. Either one works. So that's y equals negative 4 times 2 plus 11. I should have written out the whole equation first to let you see. So basically I'm replacing that x with a 2. And then I get y equals negative 8 plus 11, which is y equals 3. So my final point is 2, 3. Okay. Next up, we're going to solve this one using the graphing method. So I've got to get out my super sharp ruler, triangle ruler. Draw some axes. There's y. And there's x. Alright, so I'm going to solve using these axes. So let's see, it says y equals x minus 1. So the first thing I need to think about is the slope and the y-intercept. So the y-intercept is b. So I'm going to start with that negative 1 right there. That's where my graph is going to start, at negative 1. And then the number that's in front of this x is like 1. So, or I could write 1 over 1, so that goes up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, up 1 over 1, like that, kind of like in a perfectly diagonal line both ways. Okay, so there's that top line. And then this one, the y-intercept is negative 3, so I'm going to start at negative 3, and then go up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, like that. I'm going to draw that line in too. Which means that this is my intersection point, but it's not good enough just to circle that point. You've actually got to write it out. So let's see, it's to the left 2, so the x is 2 and the y is 1. So my answer is going to be 2, 1. All right, that's it for the pre-benchmark, guys. Hopefully you'll do well on the benchmark quiz tomorrow. Make sure that you upload this for your assignment, and good luck. I miss you. Bye.